Welcome to the Social Impact Level Up podcast. This is where we blur the lines between business, nonprofit, and impact. I'm your host, Wendie V, and in season 3, we're redefining success for social entrepreneurs looking to grow their revenue. If you have reality-changing ideas, this is the place for you. Let's jump right into today's episode. Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Social Impact Level Up podcast. I'm your host, Wendie V, and today we are discussing essential nonprofit funding streams. Of course, if you're a social business owner, don't worry, we have something for you. I'm going to teach you how you can maximize your giving using our DPTD framework. So today, I want you to keep grounded in the fact that sustainability is more than funding, but we do have to recognize that in order to do the work we want to do and make the impact that we want to make, funding is absolutely essential. One thing I recommend to all of my clients, and of course, I offer this back to you, our podcast listeners, is to make sure that you have a coordinated funding model. And what does that mean? It means that anything that you do should take advantage of both restricted and unrestricted funding streams. Restricted funding streams are things like grants and contracts that have some sort of meaning or purpose to them, and therefore you have to actually keep that money for a specific use. Unrestricted funding, unlike that, is earned income or other sources of donations and things that you can use the money for whatever you actually want to use it for. Of course, making sure that your organization is getting to the outcomes that it's supposed to get to. So whether you're a business or a nonprofit, this philosophy can matter heavily for you as you're diversifying your funding streams and looking forward at the sustainability of your organization. In today's episode, we are going to focus on using the DPTD framework. So let's start off our conversation there. This is how you create a diversified funding plan. And the reason why I created this framework was because I wanted people to understand that there's more than one way to give. As you think about giving, we traditionally gravitate towards dollars. And of course, dollars are important. As I said before, we need money to make an impact. But there are other ways to give. And if you are a social business owner, this is where you can think about your impact mission and how you can maximize the resources that you have as a business. So dollars is the first part of it, and that is the first letter, D. People is the second part, and this is where we have capacity from people to volunteer for organizations or for causes to get specific things done that we need to get done. Time is another way that we can give or that we can receive as a nonprofit. And this is where we think about things like board positions or professional pro bono services that are offered to us at a discount or for free. And of course, if you're a nonprofit, this is really helpful to know what you're asking for and by whom to make sure that you're reaching your strategic goals. So dollars, people, time, and the last letter is D, donations. These are any kind of non-volunteer or non-monetary donations, any other goods, resources, spaces, other things that you can think of that are important for organizations to grow. So this is the grounding for our conversation today, thinking about dollars, people, time, and donations, and how we can, as a group, as social entrepreneurs, how we can make sure that we share the resources that we have with those who need them. So as we're going forward in this conversation, there are a bunch of resources that I want to talk about, and these are going to be applicable to both social businesses and nonprofits. I'm not going to explicitly say, this doesn't apply to you, business, because, of course, if a nonprofit is able to get donations, a business is not. That's something that I think we kind of understand why it doesn't apply to them. But I'll make sure to call out what funding resources are applicable to businesses and nonprofits in case you're keeping track. Okay, so we're going to talk about 8 essential funding resources that nonprofits can utilize, but also, again, thinking about how can we leverage our business or our personal giving to make sure that we're resourcing these asks. So the overview of the funding sources that I wanted to start out with thinking about is, first and foremost, the one that applies to both businesses and nonprofits is earned income. And we don't talk enough about earned income as a revenue resource. The reason is because it can get quite complex. And of course, there are tax laws that are included. I am not a CPA or a tax lawyer. Therefore, you want to make sure that you consult your own as you think about your earned income. If you're a business, your earned income is how you make money. It's how you exist, but it's also how you resource your impact mission. As a nonprofit, a lot of nonprofits may not have or think about how they can use earned income to their advantage because earned income is an unrestricted resource. Once you get the money in, you've earned it. And so therefore you can use it as you need to grow your business or your nonprofit. Now, the mechanisms that a nonprofit might think about to get some earned income, if this isn't part of your current strategy, is thinking about maybe you have space that you can lease, or maybe you have a resource that you can lend or sell. Maybe you have intellectual property that will allow you to earn some income by teaching it or by licensing it. So, a lot of different ways that people are earning income in today's economy. And as a business and a nonprofit, earned income is the number one way that you can think about as the base of your coordinated funding strategy. The reason is because this is, again, unrestricted funding. So if you are thinking of how you can grow your overall funding, the first question might be, are you actually earning any income through your organization? And what are the ways that you're doing that? And you can look crucially or strategically at each of those ways and see how you can maximize each of those revenue streams. As a business, this might mean your products or services need to be realigned. It might mean that your marketing needs to be realigned to attract values-based customers who are going to buy your products or services. As a nonprofit, it might mean that you have to develop a product or service that you can actually sell. There's a lot of ways to accomplish thinking about your earned income. If you need any help, you know who to call. If you're looking for grant funding and don't know where to start, let me introduce you to the secret that even grant writers don't know. Idea to Impact, the grant writing course that makes it easy to learn everything from A to Z about grant writing in plain English with on-demand half-hour modules and go-at-your-own-pace workbooks. This course is unlike any other because it delivers insider tips from a grant reviewer and grant creator, me. I've awarded over $35 million in grants throughout my career, and I give you access to all of the resources and knowledge that you need to apply for millions of dollars on your own, no grant writer needed. Sign up today at wendieveloz.com/grants. The next part of our talk is going to cover exactly what do you do after you try to earn the income, because as we all know, there may be gaps and there may be other resources that we need in order to completely fund what we're trying to do. So as I said, there are restricted and unrestricted funding possibilities for us as businesses or nonprofits who are making an impact. And the first and foremost one that you hear me talk about a lot is grants. Grants. This is the basis of my experience, and it's also the basis of a lot of experience for people who are trying to grow an organization. How can you get a grant to do the work that you want to do? Now, grants have a lot of appeal to them. They might be local grants, federal grants, state grants, philanthropic organizations have grants. Lots of different opportunities for you to apply for money. The caveat is that this money is aligned to a purpose or a resource that you must provide for a specific group of people or a community. Or it might be something that you have to commit to doing for a certain number of years. Of course, these strings attached mean that this is a restriction in how you can use the money. Now, as a coordinated funding expert that you're becoming through this podcast, you might assume that you're going to need beyond just grants and earned income, other resources. And this is where you can think about some of the other ways that you can maximize your restricted funding. So as a business or a nonprofit, you're more than likely able to apply for contract positions to be a subcontractor or a prime contractor for a local government or even a federal government organization. You can look at these as opportunities to align your work that you want to do with the work of someone else who also wants to do that same exact outcome, wants to get to that same exact outcome. Now, I think that most people forget that you can apply to both grants and contracts at the same time. And you can, if you're coordinating them, think about your overall portfolio and your overall needs and apply to the correct opportunities that are aligned to your organization's mission and vision and your strategic growth over the course of the next few years, because grants and contracts often take a few years to accomplish their outcomes. So those are the restricted funding streams that you might be able to access as a business or a nonprofit. And in that, there are a lot of pros and cons to each of them. Grants and contracts operate very similar in that they have reporting requirements, they have money that comes to you, they also have work that you have to do in order to get that money. Now, beyond that, a nonprofit can also access other resources. And these are some of the trickier ways that you can think about how can you add these things all together into a coordinated funding stream that really helps you to grow in the ways that you want to and in alignment with the programs and services that you want to grow in the future. So, corporate sponsorships and individual donations, of course, these are two very basic parts of a funding strategy for a nonprofit, thinking about the different people who you want to be able to entice to give because they have similar interests or values with your organization, and the corporations who, through their business, could do things like sponsorships or help you with various needs like events. So, corporate and individual donors are very, very important parts of our coordinated funding strategy. And they also require you to make relationships, not only in person relationships with individuals who represent organizations or individual donors, but also making sure that you're making relationships online to attract these people as well. I also recommend that you join your Chamber of Commerce in order to meet some of these people. And they will absolutely welcome you to any of their events because as a nonprofit, you are a vital part of the community. The next part that you probably have under your belt as a nonprofit is events and fundraisers. Now, businesses can also use events and fundraisers to help in their giving because there are lots of ways that you can entice your customers to come to a specific location and support a nonprofit. Say, for example, there's a local pizza shop who is going to donate 10% of their proceeds on a specific day to a specific nonprofit that's your partner. You could use your business email list in order to help them get more people in and buy more pizzas. Therefore, we can make a bigger impact with their 10% donation. This is something that business partners often discount as an easy way to use a resource that you already have and that you're already wanting to engage with content, because your email list probably includes both people whose values align with you and align with the nonprofit partner that you're trying to support. As a nonprofit partner, you can think about how to ask businesses to support you in your work in these various ways. Not only the business who's hosting the discount, but also other businesses who can help you to advertise this special opportunity. And those kinds of fundraisers take a little bit of coordination and partnership, but they're often worth it because over time you can develop them into longer-term relationships or even deeper relationships for other opportunities in the future. Now, events are very, very common. As we know, after the pandemic, sometimes events may not be as well attended in person, but there's still opportunities to do events online. And one of the opportunities I wanted to speak about today in our funding strategies is to do live streaming fundraising. I know a lot of us might remember, or maybe you heard of the telethons of the 1980s, where a lot of money would be raised by watching a TV show and then calling into a specific phone number. And it's not exactly done that way these days, but it's pretty similar. Someone might be online on a live stream and asking for a specific link to be visited. And therefore, when you make a donation at that link, the money will go to a specific cause. This can be used as a strategy for both businesses and nonprofits. Of course, businesses could be the host of this event or even use their social media channels as a live stream outlet to share this information as well. And it's a great way for nonprofits to collaborate across their organization to have people create content and to participate with whether it's people that they serve or their board members, other stakeholders that support the organization. By being part of the live feed, they also can get their audiences engaged as well. The last part I want to mention is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is very important because it's a resource that we now have as a regulation in the United States. And it's something that we're still trying to figure out. I think a lot of organizations are hesitant to understand the specific platforms and how you do it. But we do have a resource here on this podcast. If you listen to the episode with Devin Thorpe, he explains all about crowdfunding and how you can get access to information through his crowdfunding events. Take a listen to that episode because you'll learn more about crowdfunding than I can ever possibly tell you in this one little snippet. What I will say that I've learned about crowdfunding is that it does empower the community to be able to support not only the social entrepreneurs that they want to, but also the ones who really are guaranteed to give back to a community. So if it's a social business who's raising capital for, say, a restaurant or even a development project in a place that has a little bit of extra love to give to their neighborhood, some of the neighbors might be cautious and not really understand what this project or business is going to bring to the community and maybe not be ready to support it. However, if that business owner or community has a following or is able to win over other people in the community to support them, they could have quite a lucrative amount of money that they raise through their crowdfunding campaign. So this is an excellent strategy to be able to not only engage people who you want to support you, but also to make sure that you're aligning your resources and your information as a business with the things that people think matter to them around the impact that you want to make. Having a solid business plan is the first part of this, and I highly recommend that you make sure, if you don't have a solid business plan, you seek some sort of coaching or support in order to get that done. This is a bunch of different funding streams that you can access as businesses or nonprofit, but there's also annual things that you could be doing. You could be using campaign marketing to raise funds for a specific purpose, or using campaign marketing to raise funds annually for an endowment, let's say. There's lots of different ways that you can get unrestricted funding, but the second that you use in your marketing the words, "this money is for," it suddenly goes over into being restricted funding. So how do you navigate this? In your messaging and in your marketing, you have to be transparent with the people who are giving you money, whether that's customers and clients, or whether that's people that are donating dollar donations or any other type of donations from our DPTD framework to your organization. Now, the way that you can do this, if you do want to dedicate this money to specific causes, is to be transparent about the types of causes or the specific funds that you have within your organization, and letting people know that the money that comes is going to be pooled across these different purposes. Now, there's a lot of other ways that you can coordinate your resources as an organization. These are just a few of the opportunities that you have to make sure that your funding is diversified and that you're able to sustain your work over time. To wrap all of this up, I want to make sure that you understand the Dollars, People, Time, and Donations framework is here to help you maximize giving and receiving as an impact organization, thinking about the things that matter most to you and how you can share the resources you have or how you can ask for the resources that you need. The funding strategies that we spoke about today with unrestricted and restricted funding are ways that you can coordinate your resources to the services and programs that make an impact in the community. This is a great way for you to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. And if you need to go through a strategic planning process, it's always helpful to have somebody to guide you. Particularly, you can give us a call if you're looking for somebody to guide you through one of these processes. Strategic planning is the name of the game, and funding and coordinating funding is exactly what we do. Now, at Wendie Veloz Enterprises, the other thing that I want you to understand is the Dollars, People, Time, and Donations framework. It's available to download for you in our Funding for Impact guidebook. This guidebook is a resource that you can use to help you understand not only this framework, but several of our other powerful frameworks that align both business and nonprofit funding to the mission, making sure that our marketing and our outcomes and everything is in alignment with the vision and the strategies that we're using. It's a great resource. It's absolutely free, and it's available on my website, wendieveloz.com/guide. This episode has been all about coordinating funding for our impact organizations. I want to make sure that you have as many resources as possible. You can always come back here for more topics on sustainability, more inspiring chats, and to make sure that you have everything you need to go ahead and change the world. Till the next episode, we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to having you come back. If you're curious about what we shared, make sure you check down in the show notes below. And if you're ready to grow your revenue, I have a little gift for you. Download my Revenue for Impact guidebook. at wendievelos.com/guide. Until the next episode.